All right, for more on this, we are joined by Alan Burstein from California. He is a visiting assistant professor and an Israel Institute fellow at University of California, Irvine. Welcome to the broadcast, sir.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Mr. Burstein, let's start from here. From Thursday, it has now been delayed to Friday. Even Friday, there is no confirmation on that either. There's no certainty of this. Now, reports suggest there was a 24-hour delay as the deal was not signed by Qatar and Hamas. Are there more negotiations still going on? What do you feel about this?
So according to the different reports, what the part that's missing is the exact mechanism through which Hamas is going to release the hostages. Hamas in the past released the hostages to the Red Cross, but at this time Israel had not fully invaded the north of the Gaza Strip. According to the initial reports, Hamas was going to release the hostages through the Rafah crossing, through Egypt. They would then be transferred to Israel. Only after Israel verifies their identity will Israel release Palestinian hostages. Right now, that seems to be stuck. It's unclear what's going to be what the delay is, if there's a problem with the transfer to the Red Cross or if Hamas is insisting on changing the terms of the deal. But that is the one part that's still being negotiated. Otherwise, no one's contesting the terms of the deal except for the mechanism of release.
Now, the region is extremely volatile. The war will continue. That has been made clear. And there are, of course, reports of the fact that Hamas will try to restart its attack on Israel as well. And there is a slight concern regarding the effects that this delay, or this pause can have on the ongoing war. The war will continue. That Israel has made clear. Do you feel Hamas will gain some kind of advantage here for a counter?
Hamas desperately needs this pause in the war. If we compare what Hamas is now willing to give in this deal as opposed to what it was willing to give on October 8th, we can see that they're in a dire state. And they really need a pause in the war in order to regroup, in order to rebuild themselves. And they also need the release of some Palestinian prisoners in order to somehow justify to the Gazans why did they launch the campaign on October 7th? Look, here they're gaining something. So they are going to gain something through a pause in the war and through the release of some Palestinian prisoners. However, right now, as you said, there is a lot of fear because the situation is extremely volatile. Until the pause is actually declared, anything can happen. Israel today carried out substantial artillery fire in the eastern parts of Khan Yunis, that is a town in the southern parts of the Gaza Strip. Any kind of misfire that will all of a sudden either hit a hospital or hit a school is going to cause another eruption and possibly delay the deal further. So yes, every minute counts in terms of making sure the deal goes through, but at the same time, both sides right now have an interest in the deal going through. Both sides are under heavy pressure from their populations to show some gains in terms of releasing prisoners or releasing hostages. So both sides want it to go through, but every minute makes it more dangerous.
Now, Mr. Burstein, now this delay also underscores the fluidity of the negotiations. Is nothing certain until we actually see the hostages released from the two sides? Hostages Absolutely. From Hamas and the prisoners in Israel. I correct myself there.
Absolutely. It's the situation is always very volatile and nothing's certain, and no sides trust each other, right? Hamas does not recognize Israel's right to exist. Israel does not speak to Hamas. It's a terror group as far as Israel is concerned. They're not even negotiating with each other. Hamas is negotiating with Qatar. Israel is negotiating through Egypt and the United States with Qatar, also with some statements with Qatar directly. But the two sides have zero trust towards one another. Usually in the past, once a terror group is willing to negotiate the release of hostages, this is not just in the Middle East. The same goes in the Philippines, the same goes in Sri Lanka, the same goes in Nigeria. Usually when a terror group is willing to come to a deal about release of hostages, they come through. They come through because they want more deals later on. But only once the deal actually starts do they at least usually release who they say they're going to release. Until then, as you say, nothing is certain. Nothing is certain. Israel, as you said, the Mossad is been ordered to try to assassinate the heads of Hamas. Israel said that it wants to assassinate the leader of Hamas in the Gaza Strip, Yahya Sinwar. If it manages to do that in the next 24 hours, the deal is likely over. So nothing is certain until we see the hostages actually being released and Palestinian prisoners being released. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you for your time, Mr. Alan Burstein. I can make out it's later in the day for you. And thank you so much for coming on board later in the night. And I would love to have you back on WION World is One later for your insights.
Thank you. Have a good day.